like that she wanted to put her friends, and then the necklace, like I thought like he was gonna go into death, which was actually going to occur, but in a different way. Like they did go into death, but they went into death because she actually messed up.
Yeah, she made a mistake. Now, let's go back to let's take off our reader response hat and let's put on our historical lens for feminism. This is a book this is a story in the 1800s where the author is talking about women and the struggles that they go through when they act like what? A woman. What's the problem with that? Isn't that kind of cool? I like that. You can do an IOP on what he was doing, the author. Aside from the whole story, the author is criticizing, right, the works of a what? The dreadful, or what did he say? The hateful kitchen duties. Mm-hmm. So imagine the women that are reading this. You think men want their women to read this?
No.
Because they make it sound like the women that do this, which were all the women, mostly. Make sense? They make it sound like if it's the worst thing ever. But a lot of women did it. In fact, a lot of women do it today. In fact, I do it. Make sense? And she had to wash, and she had to go get the groceries, and she... Make sense? This is the 1800s, right? Yeah, which is a form of ridicule for that, right? So that's kind of cool. I like it. I like what he does. Let's continue. So no, girls on this side, you all haven't said anything. Yeah? Is she a hero? She's trying her best. Or still no?
No, because if it wasn't for her selfish and arrogant actions, she wouldn't even be in that position. She wouldn't have put her husband in that position either.
She didn't lose it on purpose, Alondra.
Pero ¿cómo le ayuda eso al esposo?
Well, he saves money. Back. Well, he saves money because now she has to do all the work. But ask your question again. But how does that give him 18,000 francs? I mean, hello, how much did you pay the maid? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Like, she lost the necklace because of her own careless actions, which you could also say is unheroic in a way.
What you can say is like, well, I mean, the people that can say it would be like, pues no tenías que hacer eso ya. Like, those are a woman's duties.
Those are a woman's duties. Mm-hmm. So how are you helping?
Yeah.
Make sense? How are you helping? So there's two completely different things that are happening here. It's what the author wants you to walk away with, and then it's what's happening in the story, right? Let's continue. Every month, notes had to be paid off. What do they mean by notes?
Like debt? Yeah.
The bills, right? The bills had to be paid off. Some of them have to be renewed, time gained. Her husband worked in the evenings at putting straight a merchant's accounts. So her husband was already a what? A clerk in the Ministry of Education, and now in the afternoons, right, in the evenings, he was doing what type of work?
Accounting.
He was doing accounting. And then at night, he did copying at 2 pence, half a penny a page. And at night, I think they're called scriveners, but they're basically they copy basically. They're like typewriters, but they're human typewriters, or they transfer like the information, and they charge you. ¿Mande? No dormía, right? How many jobs did he have?
3.
But guys, he did not go through what she went through.
Oh my God.
She had to wash the dishes.
He could do that too. I bet you he'd rather do that than have those 3 jobs.
Let me ask you a question. If we have to pick a side and we're the author, whose role does the author respect more, a man or a woman? The author, not the speaker, not the narrator, the person who wrote this. Whose role do they respect more? A man. So much that he made a story about a woman who complains about doing something so silly, like doing what you're supposed to be doing. Do you see the satire here? Right? It's beautifully done. Anyways, this life lasted 10 years. For some people, it lasts how long, guys? A lifetime. But for them, it lasted 10 years. And at the end of 10 years, everything was paid off. Everything. The usurer's charges, the accumulation of the superimposed interest. Madame Loisel looked old now. She had become, check this out, like all the other strong, hard, coarse women of poor household. The author has just called women that live in poor households what? Strong. Women that are what? Hard. The women that do that you don't want to do, they're respectful women. They're strong. They're hardworking. Right? So you see how he goes back and forth, right? So it says her hair was badly done, her skirts were awry, her hands were red, she spoke in a shrill voice, and the water slopped all over the floor when she scrubbed it. But sometimes when her husband was at the office, she would sit down by the window and she would think of that evening long ago, of the ball which she had been so beautiful and so much admired. What would have been of her life if she hadn't lost that necklace? Who knows? Who knows? How strange life is, how fickle, how little is needed to ruin, and then here's the author, or to save. Did this experience ruin her or save her? Save her. It saved her from who? From her old self. You following me?
Yes.
And I think it was, there was one student 2 years ago who did an IOP on how the authors self-insert their personal opinions through their work. And this is a good example of that. Like you would with George Orwell in Animal Farm in 1984. Okay. One Sunday, as she had gone for a walk along the Champs-Élysées to freshen herself after the labors of the week, she caught sight suddenly of a woman who was taking a child out for a walk. It was Madame Forestier. She still was young, beautiful, and attractive. Who's Madame Forestier? The lady from the necklace, right? And Madame Loisel was conscious of some emotion, and she thought, should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now that she had paid her debt, she would tell her everything. Why not? So she goes up to her. Good morning, Jean. The other lady didn't recognize her and was surprised at being thus familiarly addressed by a poor woman. But, Madame, you must be mistaken. No, I am Mathilde Loisel. Her friend uttered a cry. Oh, my poor Mathilde, how have you changed? Yes, I've had some hard times since I saw you last, and many sorrows, and all on your account. Guys, on your account? Is it Mrs. Forestier's fault? No. And right here you can see, is she taking any responsibility, John, over her actions?
No.
Is she?
No.
No. On my account? How is that? You remember that diamond necklace you lent me for the ball at the ministry? Yes, well, I lost it. How could you? Why, you brought it back. I brought you another one that looked just like it, and for the last 10 years we have been paying for it. You realize it wasn't easy for us. We had no money. Well, it's paid for at last, and I'm glad indeed. Madame Forestier had halted. You say that you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine? Yes. You didn't notice it? They're very much alike. And Madame Loisel smiled, proud, with an innocent happiness. Madame Forestier, deeply moved, took her two hands and said, Oh, my poor Mathilde, but mine was just an imitation. It was worth, at the very most, 500 francs.
What did you get?
I know, right?
Wow. I'm sorry.
Guys, there's so many messages, so many. We still have 2 minutes. There's so many messages.
Oh, yeah.
You can do something like maybe honesty is the best policy, right? Maybe if she was honest with her friend, she would have known. Communication as the key. Guys, listen to me. Thank you. Communication as the key, right? Not just that, but maybe she should, when we think of the message, like, hey, maybe not all that glitters is what? Gold. Make sense? But above all, right, when we show analysis, we cannot ignore who paid for this? Who paid for it? The man. And when we talk about feminist lens, that's cool and all, but when we talk about gender theory, guys, you can see how a man, for being a man and for having roles that have been assigned to being masculine, he has to pay. He's the one that has to suffer. Now let me ask you, did she learn her lesson?
No.
Yes. She suffered, but 10 years later, there's that one phrase where she tells Madame Forestier, I went through what I went through on your account. 10 years later, not realizing that whose fault was it that they were in that predicament? Herself. She did not realize that. Did she learn her lesson? No. Will she learn her lesson after realizing that the necklace wasn't even worth all that?
Probably not.
Now that's up to you to discuss if you did want to talk about this story on your IOP. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.